Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me on another drop-in session today. We're going to be looking at 3CX's hosted options, and as well a little bit later we'll look at what sort of failover options you've got for more of your enterprise level customers as well, if those are needed. So as always, get your questions in. You should have a little panel on the right-hand side of your screen. So it'll either be chat or it will actually say questions. Get them in. We'll take a look at those at the end. So perfect. Yeah. So moving on. So let's get straight into it. So I suppose why actually use 3CX as host, and that's the main question, right? And that's what you're paying for. So there are a number of benefits of using 3CX as hosting directly. One of the key ones and one of the obvious ones is it's going to save you time. It's going to save you resources, especially if you've maybe not got a huge estate of licenses to manage. You don't really want to be able to either outsourcing that, or you don't want to, I suppose, or you don't always want to manage that internally. So it's going to save you time and resources and ultimately money, because 3CX are doing all the management of that with their hosted partners. And it's going to make the management easier because really it's just one supplier. So it's just 3CX. They're doing the hosted, having to outsource that to Google or Amazon. So reduces the number of portals you're having, and it's just a little thing, but making things and keeping things simple is always a benefit, in my opinion. So 3CX are going to manage and automatically configure all the firewall rules. They're going to manage the license in terms of the operating system and security patches, and that extends to the version upgrades. So they'll manage all that, so you don't have to. You've got automatic backups, which again, just due to the robust nature of the hosted and those of partners, that happens nightly, and of course they're monitored 24/7. So you have to wake up in the middle of the night and your system's gone down. So there are it's managed and monitored 24 hours a day. The pricing is also set, so you're not paying monthly cost and it doesn't fluctuate, which is really, really nice when you're obviously quoting your customers, so you know what you're actually dealing with, what cost it's going to be. So you're not having to sort of guesstimate things and put a buffer in, so the pricing actually might not be as competitive. So having that set pricing is really, really helpful. And I suppose just to mention as well, 3CX is hosted services provided by DigitalOcean, and they're obviously quite a massive cloud provider. They've got 15 data centers, I think it is, around the world, and something like 90 million computing instances. So they know what they're doing. They've got some robust infrastructure obviously in place to to be able to manage that amount of instances. So what is supported in terms of I suppose issues, if there are any? So you've got deployment of the service via the customer portal. So if there are any issues with actual deployment, either ProView or 3CX will be able to help out with that. If you've got any connectivity issues, which again doesn't really happen very often, but in the case there are any issues, again, support is available. If there are any system crashes or issues related to updates, it's all managed by 3CX. If you need to terminate hosted, so you don't have to go and do that yourself, you just need to let us know basically, and we can get that sorted and take the hosted instance off. Again, saving you time and resources, really, make things hopefully simple and easy for you. And any SIP phone issues. So this is not something that 3CX will support, but of course, if you bought the phone from ProView, it'll be something we'll be able to help out with, and we can do what we can. It's probably worth mentioning as well, obviously with phones being used on the hosted platform, they need to be behind an SBC or a router phone. So just bear that in mind. But I think most people already should know this, and yeah, but there's quite a lot of phones now as well that are router phones, so making these a bit easier as well. So I've got sort of a list of or almost a spreadsheet of what's included at each level, each edition. So for an 8 SC, you're going to get 2 cores, 2 gigs of RAM, and then the storage options, which is quite useful to know. In my opinion, there's quite a lot of storage you get at each level, but obviously if you've got massive clients where, or if someone just needs to store call recordings for 5 years, then obviously that storage isn't going to be enough. But it just means that you're just going to have to back it up to a a third party, or or even a storage on site, and just have it located in there. But yeah, you've got all the options available. So backups are obviously critical. You don't want to lose any of your data. Ideally, 3CX is going to perform backups. It's going to encrypt them and store them securely, and that's going to happen nightly. Backups contain system configuration and call history. They don't contain any voicemail or recording files, so if those those might need to be set up as an archive, or you can just set up your own backups as well, just so you've got everything to hand. Yeah, as I said, backups are done nightly as well. So in terms of failover, so just I guess due to the the robust infrastructure of DigitalOcean, there is of course going to be redundancy just built in. They've got 15 data centers, many locations to fail over to if necessary. So there are yeah, there's plenty of options for redundancy. Now, what I wanted to touch on as well, I thought it'd be useful, is actually talking about the failover options that you have with the enterprise license. So if you need something a bit more robust, if you've got a healthcare customer, for example, they're going to need the data stored in the UK, but also you're really going to need 2 data centers, because if not, if that data center goes down, then you're kind of stuck. So DigitalOcean actually only have one in the UK. I think they've got one in Ireland as well, and then a number around the rest of the world. If that is needed, then you might want to look at something like Azure or AWS, because they're going to have, I know Azure certainly does have 2 data centers in the UK, and you can set them up in an active passive and have that failover option there. We're talking about, really critical systems and really large enterprises, like healthcare. It's quite common with, so that the data needs to be stored in the UK, but also there needs to be obviously a second data center to actually have something to back up to, or fail over to. And it's important to note as well, the failover system must be identical to the main system, and it will back up and send the the backup to the other or the passive system. I think there's a maximum of 24-hour gap between the two, but typically it's a lot shorter. And I suppose that's it from sort of host perspective today. I did want to mention as well, of course, get your questions in. I can see there's a couple have come in already. We've got the, I just wanted to mention as well, proof of concept keys. So I feel like recently, when I've been speaking to partners, it's not something people are maybe utilizing as much as they could be. So proof of concept keys, if anyone's unaware, they are keys that you can, if you wanted to show your customer a 16 enterprise license, for example, you can actually get the license, you can set it up and give it them to actually use and have a play around with, just make sure it is fit for purpose, which I'm sure it will be. And then if they're happy to go ahead, all the configuration is done, so you literally just then license that that system. So it's a really good tool to sell it to your customer, and they will generate, these can be as big as you need, these licenses. So if you needed even, 200 odd, simultaneous call, we can get those as well. So could either come speak to me, or you can go directly to 3CX and we'll be able to generate you a free key. But yeah, those are really nice, to utilize. So I can see this question come in. So how is location selected? Okay. I'm assuming you mean for the data centers. So I suppose, so the address is taken, I believe, from your 3CX customer information on your account, and it's just going to find the one with the the lowest latency, essentially. So obviously, if you're in the UK, it's just going to pick the UK data center. If you're in Ireland, it's going to probably pick the Irish one. If there is one, I think I'm pretty confident there is, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's just going to pick the one with the lowest latency. Of course, that's what you want. You don't want it to be as much or as quick as possible. What else have we got? Can you pay for more storage? Can you pay for more storage? I'm assuming, again, down to in terms of voicemail and recordings, unfortunately, no, you can't actually purchase any more storage. Although, of course, you do have a number of different options to back up that data and delete it after a certain amount of time. So you got plenty of options there. I mean, as I said, I think the storage you get is sufficient. But if you do need, you've got a customer requirement, they have to store something for a number of years. Of course, then you're going to have to look at a cold storage. Let's have a look. Is there any more questions? So why have 3CX increased 4SC hosting to the same as the S8SC as it made it 4SC less competitive? Yeah, I can see that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the pricing, in fact, I think it was historically the same price, but obviously, oh no, you're right. Actually, it has increased. I mean, it's a good question, really. I think really it's due to the pricing is pretty low to begin with, I think, and for what you get in the system, you do get a lot for it, and I think it's just a case of just covering those costs essentially. I mean, I can relay that back to 3CX, of course. I know the 4SC did have quite a big price increase recently on the license and the hosting, which is unfortunate. But I still think the pricing, you know, for what you get really for that pricing, it's still very, very competitive in the market. But as I said, I mean, I can really, this is really useful because I'll relay it back to 3CX and you know, see if there's any changes we can be made. But ultimately, yeah, it has increased, and it is the same as the 8. So yeah, unfortunately. But I suppose on the pricing as well, because I see someone's asked, what is the pricing? So pricing, I mean, in fact, so I can bring it up. I think retail pricing for an 8 and a 4 is £250, and then they go up. So a 16 and 24 are the same price. Let me see if I can bring it up. Yeah, so 16 and 24 is 425. This is retail pricing. And then 32, 48, and actually 64 is 850. You can as well host up to 256 SC at the moment. So these enterprise licenses, and I think 512 is coming soon as well. Is there any more questions at all? Let's have a look. I'm not sure there's any more questions. So I mean, if there are any that spring to mind, you know, my details are on the screen there. Feel free to reach out, give me a call, and I'll be able to go any questions you've got. But I appreciate everyone joining. Thanks for today. We're going to do. I mean, we've got our new 3CX portal within process very soon. So the next drop-in session is probably going to be around the portal. If not, maybe a longer webinar on that to showcase the new ordering portal we've got, which is really, really nice. So thanks everyone. As I said, any questions, just give me a shout, and you know, we'll be happy to help.